And you're going to come out with women shaving their heads and not speaking?
No, all scripture, including the Old and the New Testament. That's what he's saying.
Jump the gun. Wait.
No, but I just said...
Stay with me.
I just said because of the Holy Spirit, a Christian won't want to break those laws.
Let me finish my point. You will understand where I'm coming from. Paul was speaking on the authority of God to Christians.
Yes.
So what Paul said was from God.
Yes.
Okay. So God is telling Paul, and Paul is telling Christians that all scripture is God-breathed. Valid. Now, Paul was specifically talking about the Old Testament, not the New Testament.
Exactly.
Because the New Testament didn't exist.
You know why? Because he was preaching to Gentiles mainly.
Before we get to,
but you know that.
Before we get to why, let's establish
why he would need to justify the Torah. He doesn't need to justify the Torah to Jews.
Before we get to why, let's go step by step. Paul is definitely talking about the Old Testament. Agreed?
All scripture. So he's talking about all scripture.
All scripture is necessarily...
The New Testament wasn't in existence yet.
So necessarily the Old Testament.
It has to be.
Okay. Now, in the Old Testament, we have Moses commanding the Israelites to take young children, girls. Okay, wait.
Virgins.
Not virgins.
No?
According to the King James translation, young female children for yourselves. Keep them for yourselves. Wait.
Could you just tell me the
Okay,
context of that? Or is it an
Children are
eternal order? You know it. So could you tell me the context, please?
The context is
The Midianites.
Moses invades a non-Israelite territory.
Yes.
And there's a war.
Yes.
In war, people are killed.
So it
and
wouldn't
God,
be, so the norms that you spoke of earlier that Muslims wouldn't go against are not in effect there, are they?
Why am I even bringing this point up?
Because of the young girls.
No, because of the young girls, and it was perfectly allowed by God of the Old Testament.
He's good.
And Paul confirmed it.
He's good as the Old Testament.
Jesus.
Yeah, Ali, can you be quiet?
The problem is,
خلاص, it's here.
Okay, so now the point.
Sorry.
Yeah, this conversation is getting somewhere actually. We've had a very good conversation, and I'm glad that we have found Christians we can talk to. Seriously.
At least we have some reasonable Christians. It's been some time. By the way, can I say something, Adnan? Can I say something to you? It's been quite a while actually. We didn't find some reasonable Christian that we can talk to. That you are one of the rare ones actually.
You should come and you're raising some intelligent points. Okay?
And we have no problem to
been
discuss.
raising some, and this is what I like, so that people can be educated. You can raise points, I can respond. I can raise points, you can
I've
respond.
got one tiny little thing while we're having this mutual admiration thing. If I'm quite often with Soko, not because they're Christian and because the people in the comments are generally kinder about me than in Muslim channels. So if we do speak again, I understand your grave reservations about their extreme something or other, but I would say that in order for Christians to see also at home, not in the park, to see a reasonable discussion, it would be beneficial for Soko.
I wish you can bring.
It's something to consider.
I wish you can bring more balanced and decent Christian channels to the park, and I would love to be.
The thing is, to live stream, you need
TNT Greek has been filming me for as long as he's been here, right?
Yeah.
I have no problem with him. In fact, I told him to moderate his comments when there is a disgusting comment by a Muslim or a non-Muslim. Christian or Jew, just no. If you moderate it for the first 2-3 days, the rest is not really, it gets buried in so it's better to moderate comments. Don't allow haters and liars and disgusting people to have their say in the comment section and destroy the conversation. Because me and you now having a perfectly decent, valid conversation, and I don't want people to judge the video by looking at the comments before they have watched it. Yes. So what happens a lot of the times, some hater comments, and all the Christians who before watching the video, no, I'm just giving an example. Wait, no. I'm turning to the cameras and I'm saying, if Muslims cannot comment something positive, don't comment. If you cannot comment anything positive, my brothers and sisters out there watching these videos, don't comment. Please abstain. I beg you. Yes, and that goes for everyone. But I'm specifically speaking to Muslims. You should know better. You should know better. Do not comment anything bad, anything unpleasant, if you don't have anything positive to say. So this is, I've said it many times. I've said it many times before.
The Prophet he said that whoever believes in Allah and in the hereafter, let him say something good or let him be quiet.
Yeah. So now coming to
wrap
younger.
up a little
So biblical narrative, biblical God allowed marriage and relations with younger women. This was a widely accepted practice socially all the way up to the 19th century. Only when secular liberal laws came into play, and because India, Pakistan, much of the Muslim world was governed by colonial powers, they left their laws behind, and hence we have these laws in place to this day, right? But I believe, look, there's another now social reality which we are ignoring, which is a very, very big problem in Britain, if not all around the world. What is the problem? Now, you don't allow, you don't, yeah, of course there are many, but this one in particular. Are you aware that girls as young as 9, 10, 11 and 12 are having active sex in Britain? And they are in hundreds of thousands. No. Willingly.
I said now I would say that legally, just let me point out that a girl of under 16 cannot willingly consent to sex.
No. Let me clarify. They're having sex with their age.
Yes, but the biggest problem for girls globally in America, because they've got such big numbers, I don't say they're China, but there are laws in that country now that children up to 9 months of pregnancy can be terminated.
9 months? Are you sure?
Up to birth, up to childbirth.
So, of a certain age.
Literally murder. It's literally, and one of the senators said, well, if the mother decides for an abortion during childbirth, we'll make the baby comfortable and then have the tough conversation. So I would say that you and I can agree morally that there is one God. He has certain laws and wishes for humanity, and they don't include, as you and I now agree, in this society and generation, sex with young girls, the murder of babies in the womb, bad feeling between faiths, because I want to
when you say sex with young girls, okay, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. Yes. But when you say young, how young does a girl have to be? And is it because of law? Is it because of God?
No, it's obviously, it stems from God, His morality.
God has already told us in the Bible and in the Islamic tradition that you can marry women up to a certain level when they reach a certain physical ability. That's what God has told us already.
Is there specifically an age of consent in the Bible?
No.
So how do you define what is?
How do you define what is?
Because He says one man and one woman will become one flesh.
Sure.
He doesn't say one boy and one girl. He doesn't say anything like that.
How were men and women defined previously? That's a very important question.
I imagine by puberty.
No, yeah,
because women when they bleed, they become.
So
women.
a girl may hit puberty at 11.
She could.
Okay,
so
could. Biblically she's a woman. At 10 she's a woman.
I don't say that's biblical. I'm just guessing.
No, it's biblical. It's biblical. This is very important. We just again because Kay said that the Bible says a man and a woman they become one flesh.
I guess.
No,
it's not one man and one man.
No, one man and woman become one flesh.
One flesh. So I asked her how was manhood and womanhood defined previously, and she said
13.
Yeah.
That's the Jewish custom.
Yeah.
So bar mitzvah at 13.
So married Joseph at that age.
I have no idea. Oh my gosh. Well said.
It was nearly Shaheed, huh?
The Bible doesn't say so.
You got to pay me for that.
So basically what we're saying is there's no specific age.
There's no age mentioned, which means to me that those writers didn't see anything abnormal.
So now I want to come back to the problem we had earlier. Yeah. Of course, we're going to wrap up very quickly. You as an English lady.
Yes.
What do you have to say about young girls at 10, 11, 12? They're sexually active. Why are they having sex with boys as young as 13, 14, 15, depending on the case? Okay. Wait. Well, they are sexually active. They are being taught about sex at school. They get highly sexualized. They have access to porn on their phones, right? They're watching. They
access to contraceptives.
They have access to contraceptions. Okay, legally as well. Okay. Don't you think the law hypocritically avoids the needs of such people? I'm not saying this is good or this should be happening. I'm against it. I believe they shouldn't be getting married or having sex that young. In this current day and age. This is my position. But this is a problem which is being completely ignored.
Okay. So what I would say is legally in England. So Scotland has a different age of majority, as it were. for crimes. So it's a crime for the man or boy, he can still be on a sexual register, to sleep with a girl under 16. So I would say that if a girl willingly, because legally she can't, if she's under the age where she would be found guilty of a criminal offence, so 11, it should be different from if she's under 11. If she's under 11, she does not know right from wrong legally, and therefore she needs education and love and compassion and probably some counselling if she's willingly having sex. But if it's with adult men, who I would say are over 16, those men need to be prosecuted for rape, and that girl needs to be taken into care or protective, an environment where she can be loved back.
But now this is your opinion.
If they're the same age,
this is your opinion. So she can, to you, if she was having sex with a 14 years old, that's
no, not to you as a Christian, but as a law, as the law permits.
Legally, in your opinion, the same law shouldn't be applied when a 20 years old man has sex with 11 years old.
Yeah, of course.
Guys.
Anyone who's over 16 having sex with someone who's under 16, whilst not technically a paedophile, because that child needs to be under 13, I think, is the definition for paedophilia.
Why do you 13? Why do you say 13?
The DSM says so. I don't know. Like it's defined somewhere.
Sorry? Yeah, of course. I know that's the legal position. But I'm asking, why does she pin the date or the time at 13?
Because the DSM does. The DSM-5 says that paedophilia is as an illness or a mental illness is children under 13, and legally if you're 15 and 364 days, and the boy is 16 and 1 day, technically he's a statutory rapist and you're the victim of a rape, but in reality you're both the same age, and come on now.
Right.
So it's about having a human perspective on a law.
Yes.
I really must wrap up.
So now, having this conversation, we've had a very decent conversation. Do you still believe Muhammad, looking at the example of Moses and the rest of humanity after Muhammad, marrying a younger girl, which was normal, perfectly normal for humanity as late as the 19th century, do you think he did something wrong by his standards, living at his time? And we don't have to follow that example today for the reasons already given.
There's a lot of caveats.
Yeah.
So by his example, I never said it was wrong, because clearly he thought he was right, and the people around him didn't stone him to death. They didn't.
No, they were happy about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
they celebrated it.
So for his standards, it wasn't wrong.
Right.
But for my standards and yours, we both agreed.
But is it fair to apply
our?
us?
Let me finish
Yeah,
though.
sure.
So by our standards, and any, I would say, decent thinking person.
You mean today's standards?
Yes.
Decent thinking today, you mean?
Yes.
Because that was.
No, that's my caveat. That's my point. I must wrap up. So at that time, nobody tried to kill him over it. So I'm guessing.
So would you agree that
finished
decency? Okay, sorry.
Decency has evolved, but God's morality never does. So God, as the author and finisher of my faith, tells me that that's wrong, and I can only go as a woman in the 21st century and the 20th, because I'm older than that. Like, you know, I can only go by my own experience.
But you're contradicting yourself, because
no, I'm
God, then
At
God.
that time,
So then
people
Joseph
thought
was
Muhammad
wrong
was
to marry.
Then all the biblical prophets.
Two wrongs. You're saying so. That
No, but were they wrong?
Your prophet was
we are
wrong.
saying
No,
let's do it
biblical
now.
prophets. Okay, but biblical prophets, were they wrong for marrying younger women?
At the time, no, they weren't.
So
If they were true prophets, God sanctioned their behavior.
Moses
Yes.
Moses
is true
told the
prophet.
Israelites, take younger.
So it wasn't him personally. He was talking to other
No,
people.
Moses is commanding.
Take those children.
Commanding
Yes.
and
not
keep
as
them.
an eternal judgment.
Even if it was Moses for doing that,
Yeah.
do you condemn him?
No.
Do you condemn Muhammad for doing something far less severe,
Yes.
or
Because I don't
you condemn
believe
Muhammad and not condemn Moses?
Because I
One
believe
girl versus
Moses. Sorry, I'm a
32,000.
Christian. I believe Moses to be a prophet.
Yes.
I believe Muhammad to be the prophet of Islam.
Yes.
But he's not my prophet. Like he's not a prophet.
But
for
you
me.
are criticizing him for something.
No, I don't say at the time he was wrong. I say through today's lens.
So was Moses a
wrong.
pedophile or
Moses
let me
didn't
finish
marry
here. One
anyone
second.
who was
Was
underage.
Moses an instigator of pedophilia by our standards today?
Do we see in the Bible that there was sexual intercourse with those
Yes,
girls?
yes.
So he gave an order which led to underage sex. If
Yes.
that's true, but I don't know. So I just said
If that's true,
if it's true and God did not chastise him,
Yes.
then I don't stand above God in the judgment state.
God established
okay,
a covenant.
and if that's the case, if God did not chastise Moses for doing something like that,
Yes.
would you now deem Muhammad criminal for doing something similar?
Nowadays, yes.
Na-
That's all I can say.
Okay, nowadays.
I can't
Yes,
get
okay,
to the
okay,
answer you want me to
No,
give
I'm
because
not.
that's my
I don't want an
honest,
answer from you.
heartfelt
I'm
opinion.
simply trying to get you to be consistent.
I
Is
am
Moses
being
was
consistent. We've made massive distinctions between years ago
No.
and now. So
Okay.
now I believe it's
My
wrong.
question is very specific.
Yeah.
Using the same standard you're applying to Muhammad.
Why should
but
I?
Wait.
Why should I compare Moses and Muhammad?
Because they.
I don't. In your book, they're both prophets. In my holy Bible, Muhammad isn't even there.
Okay, wait.
I
I accept
don't need
that.
to give him
I
any
accept.
praise.
I accept that. I accept that.
And he's not
I
a
accept
comfort.
that. I accept that. You deem Moses a prophet,
Yes.
and you consider Muhammad an imposter.
I
wait.
consider John the final prophet before Christ.
Okay, no problem.
And then no more.
It's clear. It's
Yes.
clear to me. But you are criticizing. You use an argument.
are you.
Wait. Please.
But don't make it like I'm
No,
the only one
I am
saying
not.
it.
I'm
You
not.
said
I'm
you
not.
wouldn't
Let me
your
clarify. Let me
must
show
go.
you why you're not being consistent. You are criticizing Muhammad for doing something, and you're using that argument to show why he could not be a prophet of God.
No,
right?
no, I'm not.
Okay.
No, Luke 16 tells me why he's not a prophet.
Okay. But is this one of the arguments a lot of people use?
No,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I must go, but you tell me I must. If I don't condemn Moses, I shouldn't condemn Muhammad. And
For doing the same thing.
But I'm saying that I don't judge them equally in the prophethood.
I agree, I accept
and
that.
Not because of the
In this
underage
case,
sex. Even
okay.
if Muhammad had married 70-year-old women, I wouldn't view him as a prophet because of Luke 16.
That's fine.
16.
That's a separate question.
not asking to accept him as a prophet.
I'm not asking you to accept him as a prophet.
Yeah.
I'm saying when you criticize Muhammad for
Yes.
marrying a younger woman for
Yes.
his by his standard she was a woman, by our standard she was a child. Okay,
Yes.
whatever, however you see it.
Yep.
Moses doing something exactly the same. Do you criticize Moses for doing exactly the same
I
thing?
answered you. I said God didn't chastise him, so I
So
will
because
not.
So
Moses,
Moses-
because Moses is okay, because
So
of the
because
prophet,
Moses is the prophet, that's fine for him to do.
I imagine so because I'm not told
Okay,
that God
so
chastised him. I don't even know the verse you're
so you don't have a
referring to.
problem with the action
of God's chosen
no,
prophet.
the action of getting married to younger girls. You don't have a problem with that. You have a problem
I
with
just
the.
said Muhammad at his time was not wrong.
Okay.
Basically, she's saying she won't condemn it because God did not condemn in the case of Moses. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Then
it.
then be consistent.
I am.
And using that
trying
standard.
to get me to
Okay.
say something
No.
different.
No.
I'm
No. No.
consistent
I'm
saying the
not.
same
I'm only trying to get somewhere.
I won't offer
That
you my
Moses,
hand, but
yeah,
I'll offer you my back
Moses did something, and you think he was a prophet of God.
I know
Therefore,
he was a prophet of God, and so do you. So let's
Sure.
not linguistically start like you know.
I do apologize. You
No,
believe
apologize
you
to
believe
Allah.
you
Don't
believe
me.
Moses was a prophet of God.
So
So
do
do
you,
I.
exactly.
Moses allowed, in fact, commanded the Israelites.
Why didn't
Let me
Allah
finish.
rebuke
Let me
him for
finish
telling him
let
to-
me finish. Let me finish.
No, but the Bible is
Let me
revealed by
let me
Allah.
let me finish, please. Moses commanded the Israelites to take younger girls into their homes for sexual intercourse.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's clear. It's clear. Biblically, it's clear. Okay.
That's not actually clear.
It's clear. It's clear.
It says
Okay.
take them, especially.
Okay,
It says-
take them and do what? Take them to what? Yes. Take them into your homes, shave their heads off, shave them, and make them your wives. Read that. Can you read that?
Wives,
Those
hang on,
verses.
Muhammad was
No, but
married to
wives doesn't
Aisha
mean
at
the
6,
kind of
but
wife
he
you're
didn't
thinking.
consummate it as you told me for 3
concubines.
years.
No.
It's concubines, basically.
Can we
Okay.
have it in English?
These are concubines.
That is
Right, and
English.
then
These were not actually wedded wives. These were Moses
These are like
considered
like-
the
I wouldn't
children,
say concubines,
yeah,
let's
Midianites.
not
They were concubines. They were actually taken as slaves, right? And Moses commanded the Israelites to have them, right? Now the point is, you cannot condemn Moses, which I understand because he was a prophet of God. Likewise, you have to understand our viewpoint. Muhammad is a prophet of God for us, but the Christians, when they criticize Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for getting married to a younger woman or a girl, right? And then when we bring Moses to them for doing something same.
So you want to do a
Yeah.
wrong for a wrong and make
No,
it okay.
no. How is Moses? He's a prophet of
So
God.
there's nothing wrong.
He's a prophet of God.
What's been wrong?
Brother,
He's a prophet of God.
You bring up a different example of underage marriage to justify the first. If Muhammad's the perfect example, you don't need to justify it one bit. You just say that's my prophet.
Have you heard the saying, the kettle telling the pot you're black,
Yeah, I've heard, yeah.
right?
Pot calling the kettle black.
The pot, sorry, I always get it
Sorry.
the other way around. Okay, the pot telling the kettle you're black,
No,
right?
the pot doesn't. The pot calling the kettle black.
Okay,
That's it. I promise.
okay, whatever.
We got there finally.
You got my point, right? So that applies here.
Yeah.
When you believe in something and you believe it's perfectly valid,
Yes.
by the words of
And a
Paul,
perfect
all
example.
scripture is God-breathed,
Yes.
good for correction, righteousness, and rebuke.
Rebuke.
That means Moses, what he did,
Is right.
is valid example for Christians to follow, right? Which they did.
It could be
No,
inferred.
which they did. The Christians
The
did.
order was from Moses for them to do it to this particular tribe of people. Am I right?
But the Christians,
Yes.
Christians-
So therefore, once that tribe had been captured and taken
are you
and
aware?
slaughtered,
Are you aware? Christians were getting married to 7, 8, 9 years old
Christians or
girls
Jews?
throughout European
Christians or
history.
Jews? Christians or Jews?
Christians.
Yes, we discussed that.
We
yeah.
discussed it.
Yeah.
So
I
if
don't
that's
know
the
if
case,
they biblically
the-
justified it though with Moses.
of course they did.
Did they?
Of course they did.
I've got to go.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, I know you have
and
to
by
go.
the way, just a final thing, that even Aisha radiallahu anha, she was her father.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Mary.
okay.
Yeah, definitely. Give me a ring.
Her father was planning to give her to two people before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then
Yeah, she was already
She was already
betrothed.
betrothed to two people,
So
and
he
then
broke
after
his
that,
oath to
no,
those
no,
two
not
fathers.
an oath. He was offering. That's
Okay, yeah.
he was offering. And two people they said we don't want to marry. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam married her. That's one thing. And the other thing,
What, like
do you
as a
think
mercy, like as a... I
he was
don't get why
offering?
you're telling
He
me
was
that.
offering, meaning
He's
it
telling
was-
you this because it was already normal for
Because
girls to be
normal for girls-
betrothed
yeah,
to
yeah.
other
Yeah,
people.
but that's what I'm
At
saying.
birth, imagine the Arabs at birth. If a girl is
Exactly,
born,
but there's
she
no
would be
sex
betrothed.
involved. I don't mind
Yes,
if she
the
was
sex would
betrothed
only
to
get
one.
involved when
When
they
she-
deemed her ready
Ready.
for that relationship. And when did they actually deem them ready? They looked at them, their physiology.
Yeah,
If they were
which
physiologically
includes
fit,
menstruation,
they
so
were
why are
yeah,
you getting
and they didn't go by
involved in
our
the circumstances?
16 years old, 17 years old. They looked at the girl. If she was showing signs of womanhood, to them, she was ready. To
To a
them.
man. That's the joke. To a man.
No, to her parents, not to a man.
No,
To
no,
her
no, parents.
Her parents. Her parents will
That's
decide.
still not
Okay,
showing
so
signs.
so Kay,
decide.
thank you very much for your
Thank you
time.
so
I really
much.
appreciate.
Elbow?
No, I could-
Nothing?
Just
Not even
just
through
just
18 layers.
wait.
From far, from far.
Peace be with you.
Okay, thank you very much for that discussion. I really appreciate it. We will talk again.
I haven't yet researched.
Guys, whose mics?
Your homework is
That's your homework.
Whose mics are these?
I'll take them.